In this video, we're going to look at how to model the ring pop candy for activity 134 CAD modeling skills. This is going to be a multi-component part within the single design file, which is an example of top-down modeling. So we're going to go ahead and start off with creating a new component. And the top component, or the very first thing we're going to look at, is creating the candy, which is what the name is I'm going to give it. Starting off, I'm going to create a sketch, and I'm going to choose this top work plane to kind of start off, and I'm going to go to create, down to polygon, and I'm going to choose circumscribe polygon, selecting the origin as the center point. And as I'm drawing, I can go through and set a radius. I'm actually going to press the tab key, and I'm going to change the number of sides from 6 to 8, as we're supposed to have this kind of octagon side. And I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to click to place the octagon on there. I'm not going to worry about having a certain radius at this point. I am going to go through and place a constraint so that way I can't spin this shape around like so. So I'm going to grab the horizontal vertical and click one of the sides, so that way it'll go through and stop spinning. And I'm going to go ahead and dimension. So from across the flats, this first one's going to be a value of 0.5, and that's going to be our first sketch that we'll use to get us started. I'm going to create two more sketches in a very similar manner. I'm going to finish this sketch, putting this in the home position. I'm going to do an offset work plane from the construct panel, and I can choose the sketch. This is going to be offset by a value of 0.5, and then I can go ahead and click on the create sketch button, and I'm going to choose the work plane. I'm going to draw another polygon, another octagon that I can create using the same methods as I did in the last sketch. This time though, the height across the flats will be a value of 0.75. Finish the sketch. I'm going to create another offset work plane from the bottom. So sketch, this is going to be 0.75, and I'll hit enter. And I'm going to create a new sketch on top of that work plane that I just created. Another octagon. This one's going to have the value of same value across the flats of 0.5. And I'm going to finish the sketch. From here, I can go through. I'm going to use the loft command, and I'm going to choose the first sketch, and I'm going to choose the second one, and I'm going to go ahead and say OK. And then from here, I'm going to choose loft again. I'm going to choose the top edge of this portion, and I'm going to choose the third sketch to create the shape of the candy. Now, the only thing I got left is I'm going to rotate downward, create a new sketch on the bottom face, and create a hole for which the candy sits on the plastic ring. This is going to be 0.1875 for the diameter. I can finish the sketch, and I'm going to extrude, and this is going to be a negative 0.25 extrusion up into the candy. So here is the first part already created. I'm going to go ahead and now over in the browser make sure I'm active on the candy component, but now I need to go up here to the very top level, and I need to activate the component at the very top. Once I do that, I'm going to create a new component. This one I'm going to name to be the plastic ring. So now I have two components within this file. The first one will go transparent, and then I can start modeling the second one. So I'm going to create a new sketch. I'm going to create a sketch on the bottom work plane, and I'm going to do a circle using the origin. And you can see I can always reference the previous component if I need. But I've got 1.5 inch diameter for the circle, and I'm going to go ahead and say finish the sketch. And I'm going to extrude this sketch not up, because I'm going to cut into the part. I'm going to go downward, and that's going to be a negative 0.0625. While I've got this, I'm going to create another sketch on the top. I'm going to create a circle. It's going to be the same diameter as the circle for the hole, which is 0.1875. I'm going to finish the sketch. Now I won't be able to grab the circle, so I'm going to go ahead and go over here to the component. I'm going to turn off the visibility for that component. I'm going to extrude a distance of 0.25, and I'll say OK, and then I can turn that component back on to be able to see how that fits onto the plastic ring. My last component here is, or my last part for this component should be, I'm going to create a sketch, and I'm going to zoom out a little bit. I'm going to choose this right work plane, and then I'm going to kind of take a look at turning it to the side. So I'm going to use the view cube arrows and turn that 90 degrees so I can kind of look at it from this angle. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw a circle, and here's my origin, but I'm going to come over here at a distance. It's going to be a diameter of 0.75, and I'm going to go ahead and set up a few different parts. So I'm going to go ahead and dimension from the bottom edge of our circular extrusion to the center. It's going to be a value of 0.5. And a couple of other things here is that I want to make sure that I horizontally constrain the midpoint of this circle to the origin. So now it'll be fully constrained. I'm going to take my line tool, and on the portion here, I should get, when I'm on this particular line, I should get a little blue square. I'm going to draw a line that goes straight up, and I'm going to make that 0.25. If I hit enter, now I've got a line that's drawn right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a line from that endpoint, and I'm just going to kind of draw it out here at the side. I'm going to go ahead and use the tangent constraint to take the line, making it tangent to the circle. Now I'm going to go ahead and create a line from that center line and through the center of the circle. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make this a construction line, which I can toggle. And then I can go ahead and mirror this line, choosing mirror line, and then choose my construction line. That will create that. From here I can go ahead and use the trim tool. I can trim away this excess parts of the line. You're going to see this line kind of turn blue again. So what happened here is I think the endpoint of our line is coincident. So when I click on the endpoint, you see the little coincident symbol. This happens to you, right click and say delete. And then that way this line comes free again. And what we're going to do is we're going to make this tangent. So this line goes tangent to this circle. And then let's see if I can trim that away. There we go. Now it maintains the tangency that I need. Okay, for the rest of this, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take another circle on the same center point as the first one. I'm going to make this 0.60. And then from our lines from our center point, I can go ahead and draw out at a certain angle. I'm going to draw one from the center line to the angled line. We'll do about 35 degrees. So that way we can create that. And then I can always trim away like the end point of this line. And then the other thing that I can do is I can take a look at cutting away some of the other portions. But I'm going to go ahead and mirror that last angled line, the 35 degree line, and I'll mirror that across there. And then what I'm looking for is I'm going to trim away the portions between the two lines that I just mirrored. And now that's going to give me a little bit of kind of the hook that would go around the finger. So I'm going to go ahead and just say finish the sketch. From here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to extrude. I'm going to grab this portion and I'm going to grab this portion, but not this kind of Pac-Man shape that I see here. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to extrude in the direction I'm going to do a symmetric extrusion, which means it's going to go a same amount on each side. And the value that I'm going to make that is 0.1875. So you can see kind of how thick that is. So that means, and here under the measurement that says half length. If we want to go whole length, that means the whole thing is going to be 0.1875. Half length means it's 0.1875 from the middle out to each side. So that's actually doubled. So we want to click whole length, and then we can go ahead and say OK. That is going to go through and put our plastic ring on the bottom. The only thing I might do to go through and kind of hopefully clean this up is I'm going to use the Fillet Tool. I'm going to go ahead and select, there's 4 edges. I got one right here, one right there, one right here, and one right here. And that fillet is going to be 0.025, just to give it a little bit of a round over, so that way it's doesn't look so sharp on there. And I can go ahead and say OK. Now I can go ahead and I can activate the top level of the assembly, and that'll keep it together. I'm going to go ahead and grab this as-built joint, and I can just click component 1 and component 2, or the candy and the plastic ring. We're going to do a rigid joint. I'm going to say OK. So that way now they move together. You can't separate them. So I'll revert this position back. And we can't forget about the appearances. So I'm going to activate the candy. I can choose to modify the appearance. I'll grab on this one a red to drop on there. And then if I go to the plastic ring, activate it. We can drop green onto it. And then if I activate the top level, there is my ring pop modeled and all done for activity 134 CAD modeling skills.